Without further ado, the amazing Arthur Turnbull. Yes.
Hey, y'all. It's good to be here. It's good to be part of D'Angela's symposiums. I think they're the best Prince-related celebrations that there are. The community and the energy and the creativity and thought that goes into these talks and these events, to me, are bar none. So let's get to it. My talk is called The Purple Machine, the enduring power of purple rain. And before I jump, I go down, huh? Yeah, okay. So before I go the full boat back to 40 years, I'm gonna go halfway at 20. And in February of 2004, many of us have seen, I'm sure a lot of us had saw, in real time, quote unquote, that Prince opened the 2004 Grammy Award telecast. Now, he had been already nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a few months earlier. The nominations happened, I think, like the third or fourth quarter of the previous year, and it's always 25 years after an artist's career that they become eligible for the Hall of Fame. And I'm pretty sure that Prince came in his first year of eligibility, right? So there was already some momentum. There was of course, some press around it, but there was already some momentum about Prince being, coming to be inducted, and there was some momentum that he himself could build on. Now, the Grammys happened early in the year in 2004, and of all the songs in Prince's catalog, he does 3 songs, all from the album Purple Rain, beginning with Purple Rain, his signature song. And then for the second verse, Beyonce comes and joins him. Now, this is Beyonce this was like her year. She walked away with an armful of Grammys. I think she got 5 statues that night. And it was for her debut solo album that was hotly anticipated. So the pairing of the two kind of worked to both of their advantages from the standpoint that here is Beyonce who can hang with a legend. And here is a legend who has someone worthy to be with him that he can hang with, so to speak, right? I think they did an interpolation of her hit Crazy in Love, somewhere between Baby I'm a Star to Let's Go Crazy. But the next day, as far as press was concerned, of course, she won a bunch of Grammys, but almost all the photos were of the two of them. And going into the next month, where Prince actually was inducted, he also opens that show. Now, this isn't a live telecast, but it is broadcast, later. And it's a much smaller room. I think the Grammys were around like the Staples Center Arena in LA. Here, it's a room in New York City. And there's industry there are peers there. It's a completely different audience. So he does a set. There are a variety of songs in the set, and he only does one song from Purple Rain, but it's also Let's Go Crazy, which allows him to exhibit his guitar prowess. Because he kind of had an agenda too that night, because a lot of people, myself included, have said that Rolling Stone magazine in particular, and the publisher of Rolling Stone magazine, the former publisher of Rolling Stone magazine, I think he's retired, Jan Wenner, had always kind of ignored Prince and his guitar skills. Now, this was the performance, this Hall of Fame, where the evening closes with the celebration of George Harrison posthumously, and they do While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and it's Prince coming in with the solo. We've seen it all on YouTube, and all that. So this is part of the same performance. But two things to note, really. Even though, now this is the 20th anniversary of Purple Rain, 2004. From Prince, there's hardly any real mention of this anniversary happening, but he takes full advantage of it, both from the Grammy performance, which is a nationally, maybe internationally broadcast show, and this here, by doing Let's Go Crazy. He's always tied to Purple Rain. And I put an insert of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame program where Prince is clearly designed in a Purple Rain motif. Like, you just can't let it go. Now, this isn't Prince asking or Prince's people asking them to do it as Purple Rain. This is their own design, their own internal design. So we're starting to see these connections to Purple Rain, even though Prince himself isn't, or hardly Warner Brothers, frankly, is really advertising the fact that this is the 20th anniversary. Okay. So a month after the Hall of Fame, so we got February, Grammys, March, Hall of Fame, which is the big deal for him. And then April, he releases a new album. It's called Musicology. He announces a summer tour where he's going to bundle the album with the ticket price. All right. Now, he got a lot of press and had momentum because of the Grammy performance, because of the Hall of Fame, and because he's got a new album and he's coming out with a new tour. And Entertainment Weekly was one of many magazines that year that did cover stories on him. Entertainment Weekly, they bill themselves as the I'm working with a gang of notes. I got so much stuff I'm going into this thing. But they bill themselves as the entertainment news for pop culture. That's kind of what I want to get to, the fact that it's pop culture. Pop culture, mass market. Now, pop culture, pop, isn't a four-letter word so much as it insinuates just a more general popularity, non-specific interest in music consumption. And that's okay for what it is, but the headline that Entertainment Weekly that caters to this audience has to do with the return of Prince, the idea of this comeback. And also, right? Am I doing this right? I'm doing it. Get it, D'Angela. And also, with Prince announcing Musicology, he does a couple of things. In the poster, this is going to be the last time he's performing these hits. Now, he's coming back, general press style, and he's performing his hits for the last time. We know that's a lie. But he's performing these hits for the last time. Now, we know, a lot of us in this room, right? We know that he never went anywhere, right? You know, I saw him in '98. I saw him twice for the One Night Alone tour. I saw him, and the One Night Alone tour, he specifically announced, you know, if you came to get your Purple Rain on, you came to the wrong place. Like, he was disassociating himself. Now, I got lucky. I saw him in Chicago, and then I had an opportunity to see him in Tokyo, Japan. He played Purple Rain in Tokyo, Japan. So he wasn't completely divorced of this material. And I also saw a hit and run show in 2000, 2001. And at the show that I saw in Chicago, it was like a 3-hour show. Not right after the other, but he played all 9 songs from Purple Rain at that show, including Darling Nikki. So he doesn't divorce himself or shun this earlier material so much as he's aware that it kind of hangs on him. And he has long, since then, he's long been doing, new music, current music, different music. He got different looks, he got a symbol, he got all kinds of stuff. But Purple Rain is always this, very comfortable but confining scarf from time to time. So now, me not ever having a conversation with Prince, I'm gonna be so bold and to just basically say what he was thinking, right? It's like, well, okay, I don't have to say anything about Purple Rain being an anniversary. People already sort of know. I don't need to spend any money for a press release on anything like that. I'll just lean into it and just drop, some insinuation. It'll be the last time that I'm performing my hits. Now, also on the tickets, this is why I have tickets up here. Musicology tickets, not every market. I think it depended on who was promoting it, but that's no matter. But there are a lot of them. The tickets wear something purple to see Prince during the Musicology tour in 2004. This is a full-on callback to the Purple Rain tour ticket, where it was announced, hey, wear something purple. So now here's this mental subconscious association that he is doing with his biggest record that he knows can draw the largest group of people to him. And this is not by accident. So the marriage between what happened with musicology back to what his quote unquote heyday was, because that's the inference about, well, Prince is back. He's on a comeback tour. Well, he never said that. We said it. And so all he needed to do was just lean into it, because he, again, knows that that is the project that ties the people to him. And we have always tied that project to him. Bruno Mars, the posthumous tribute to Prince. The man got looks. We did a whole Diamonds and Pearls virtual, symposium. This is online. People wearing yellow. People came out with pearls. There are these eras that Prince has established that can be drawn from. But the wider public always goes back to the Purple Rain look. The Dave Chappelle skit. Now, it was a skit specifically having to do with Purple Rain, but that's fine. But you ever seen the Chappelle show? Yeah, we're all adults, right? Younger people may not be allowed to see the Chappelle show, but younger people have seen this. They know what this is. They know who he is imitating because of the look. This is an impersonator, apparently a very successful impersonator. I never heard of him, but that doesn't matter. It always sends me when they kind of cross-populate the look. It's like, pick a look. Diamonds and Pearls, Purple Rain. Oh, okay. And then the last one is Dule Hill from the television show Psych, as my man Burton Guster, messed that up, imitating Prince, the look, Purple Rain. It's there, it's out there, it's always going to be there. Even when it doesn't have anything to do with Prince. This is the current issue of Fast Company magazine with the CEO of Taco Bell on the cover. Now, when I think of Taco Bell, not that I do it often, the last thing I think about is purple. But yeah, the purple's in their logo. But okay, we're gonna have you in a full-on purple cable knit sweater, and we're gonna put Purple Rain on the cover. Doesn't have anything to do with Taco Bell. But there's a Prince association with this. Books, Prince, all the songs, not disparaging the book. I haven't personally read it. That's a great undertaking. I love $2 worth. It's Purple Rain. All the songs, he got more than 9 songs. All of the songs, we put this on the cover because this will draw people. We know this is our biggest opportunity for a sale. From a distance-wise, if you're in Barnes and Noble. Okay. Now, maybe some of us have heard "Let's Go Crazy" at an NBA game. This is the Timberwolves jersey commemorating the Minnesota Timberwolves jersey commemorating the memory of Prince. They used the font of Purple Rain. You immediately associate that font with it. Maybe we tweeted this meme. Maybe we've seen this meme. Prince himself co-opted this meme for a single, for a digital single that he did. I'll say it before, you're probably sick of it. Man got like 50 looks. But it's always, 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 always going to be Purple Rain in the conversation. So there's nothing wrong with any of this. We do this because as older people, the nostalgia draws us back to when we were teenagers. And for younger people who are the sons and daughters of parents who were teenagers connecting ourselves to this draws them too. This was Google's homepage on April the 21st, actually. When the news was released, they switched out their homepage, and I couldn't get it to really work just because it's a flat image. But the raindrops, the purple raindrops, were actually animated. And that takes some work to actually do that in a short amount of time to get this up. This was a tweet that I love that was posted the day after, April the 22nd, that says, "I think he made it. I think Prince made it. Purple sky, clouds, which signify purple rain." Okay. So the takeaway, which is not so difficult to ascertain, is that Purple Rain is the all-encompassing project that Prince has ever undertaken. Every album that he has done before Purple Rain and every album that he's done since is always either compared to this directly, called back to, or just funneled through this project. Almost always. And it has captured the collective. It's an institution at this point. I think, yeah. So this is me. And now some of you know me. And some of you know that I can really go on Dirty Mind, right? It's the foundation, it's the raw corner brick that's in the corner of the building that Prince in capital letters was built on, blah, 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 blah. That's all fine and good, but the reality is that no matter what case that we make, it's cool, but it's not a big deal to someone who is truly connected to that album and that film. And again, nothing wrong with that. But sometimes it's difficult to, how should I say it? Familiarity can sometimes dull the sharpness of a thing. We know the songs, we know the music, we know the look, we know the and lace and feathers and all of that, And it obscures the reason for the project. It obscures why the project was special. It obscures why we even care. Why did it capture us? We just know that it's there because it's the superstar. It's the big deal. And everything coming after the big deal is almost always going to be looked at through that lens. And that is the face of the big deal. That is the face of the superstar that all these other pictures that I showed you is modeled after. You close your eyes and you say Prince, oh, and you kind of go there. Sometimes you don't, but sometimes you got to go there. The thing about it, though, is that a superstar did not make Purple Rain. Not a superstar. A 25-year-old, sometimes difficult to work with, could do it all himself, know it all, made Purple Rain. See? And we had 30 days. The album was released in late June of 1984. The film was released 31 days later, July 27th, I think. 25th, thank you. Saying that to say, Purple Rain had 30 days to be the next Prince album. It had 30 days to be the follow-up to 1999. 1999 had hits. 1999, got him on MTV. 1999, had a whole tour that was very successful. We all gathered here a year ago to talk about it for 3 days. You see? It was the follow-up to 1999. First, yes, there was a movie. Yes, we were excited about it. Sounded cool. We didn't know if it was going to be any good. Nobody knew if it was going to be any good. But we knew that this was good. We knew that this was good. So much so that, I actually forgot about this, but yeah, see, I rolled my sleeves up. Yeah. There was an elephant in the room. And Michael Jackson, fun fact, when 1999 was released in late October of 1982, Thriller was released about 3 weeks later. And that was kind of like a wrap for Prince that year, because once Thriller caught on, once this man moonwalked across the stage, it was a wrap. I mean, I'm saying it in a funny way, but Prince had to make a whole movie just to deal with it. If you really think about it. If you really think about it. And so that's one of the reasons why I really, really love this photo, because Michael, I'm gonna go off mic just for a second, but Michael, he's actually reading a review of Purple Rain the day of its release. He's reading the USA Today newspaper, which at the time was a national newspaper, and it was unique in that every issue, the front page of whatever the section was going to be was in color. That was kind of a big deal that it was in color, because of course it costs money to print in color, especially a national newspaper. And they were giving him, USA Today, they were giving Purple Rain the film a great review. I remember this newspaper. And so with Michael reading it, the expression on his face is like this beautiful combination of interest. He's reading the article. Interest and respect for the fact that Prince is getting some shine. They were friendly, but there was competition. There was real competition. Right. But along with that, man, this is great. I really respect what he's doing. It's kind of an acknowledgement that Prince is going to be a problem because of this. When this picture was taken, and this is not an actual fact, but I believe that Michael was in the New York area because he and his brothers were on a victory tour across the United States. And the victory tour started a little bit after the album released, and the victory tour ended a little bit after Prince's Purple Rain tour started in November. Victory tour ended in December. Now, Michael, he didn't want to do the tour in the first place. Right. By the time his picture was taken, he'd already been burned severely on his scalp. There were some issues with pre-sale of tickets. There were some real problems with the Victory Tour. The Victory Tour, so much so, the album wasn't selling that well, at least that well for a Jackson's album, particularly with Michael being involved in it. And that was reflective of that there was hardly any songs from the Victory album on the tour that was called Victory. Right. He didn't want to do a tour. And now you got to deal with this, right? So, but we know what happened. We know what happened. Film took off, turned out to be the surprise hit of the summer. Okay. This article on the left from the New York Times is an album review, a Purple Rain album review that came out in the Sunday Times the week of the film coming out. Article's published, film's not out yet. It mentions the fact that the film had gotten good audience reviews, seemed like it might do well. This article praises the holy hell out of the album. Talks about how more than 1 million copies of Purple Rain were sold in its first week of release. That million plus are not buying this record because of a film. It's not. It goes back to what I was talking about this being the follow-up to 1999. But also, When Doves Cry which was the first single from Purple. And I know we all know this, but I'm kind of giving it to the benefit from some of the new people that are here, and Lord knows who's on the internet. But When Doves Cry, which was a very revolutionary single to come out, and is fundamentally the template for modern R&B, how it's recorded. From the standpoint that here's a drum beat, some keyboards, and I'm singing over it. That hadn't been done before. This song, which was a #1 song, was actually also the #1 song on Billboard's chart, the #1 song of 1984. Did a lot of the work, a lot of the groundwork to prepare people for the album, to prepare people for the film. Okay. The video from When Doves Cry, which was played on MTV, was not necessarily seen by everyone in mass because not everyone at the time had cable, much less MTV. A lot of people that watched When Doves Cry watched on local cable, shows like The Box, or in California, Soul Beat. There was a California music channel, and there was also a primetime show, I believe it ran on NBC, called Friday Night Videos. They showed this video. This video did more work to promote the film because like half of the video is in fact the trailer from the film. It literally brought the trailer into people's homes. It did so much more than what a movie trailer could do. Because again, we're talking about a movie trailer that had a first-time director, that had a first-time actor, and a near fully inexperienced cast, with the exception of Clarence Williams III, who played Prince's dad, and Olga Carlatos, who played Prince's mom. They were the only like veterans, pretty much in the whole thing. It's a recipe for a flop. We don't know if it's going to be any good. So how do we promote this? Hell, let's make half the video the trailer, and it worked. When Doves Cry, and Angela, I'm so glad you gave me a little bit more time because I'm like managing where the hell I am in this thing. Sorry. Okay. When Doves Cry. I know where I am. So When Doves Cry did everything that I just said, and from a visual standpoint, it also kind of bookended, if you will, the look of the revolution. This was like the fully evolved version of the revolution that people know of today. This configuration only lasted 3 years. But in conversations, we have the NPG band from the 90s that have been going in different configurations for like 20 years, going up against this, and it's almost like just like a shade battle about who's better and why they are. But the film, of course, made Wendy and Lisa household names and established this. They had to kind of get Wendy together by the tour, but it established this look that was to sort of personify this revolution that was about to happen, and that was reflected in the music, but especially reflected in the tour. Sorry, everyone, forgive me. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Let him use you. Let it flow through you.
Take a sip of water on that.
Don't lay hands on it.
Purple Rain. So, yeah, it was a follow-up to 1999, but it was designed to be the soundtrack for a film. A lot of the songs were reworked. A couple of them were specifically recorded for the benefit of telling a narrative story in the music that could be, I'm going to say, that could be adapted to film. That's not 100% correct, but that's kind of like a result. Meaning, we don't have to have a Purple Rain movie in order for this to be one of Prince's most successful albums. We actually didn't have to have that, but we absolutely had to have this music in order for the film to work. Film doesn't work without the music. And the music and the film itself was almost like a long form video, if you will, where the story was actually happening in between these song sets, two of which weren't actually performed, one being Take Me With You, which is the motorcycle drive early in the film, and the other being When Doves Cry, the hit, which is this contemplative, reflective montage on, okay, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do for the main character. But soundtracks, they did very well. Soundtracks have like almost always done well. They're very popular with the music industry because it gave them an opportunity to have a variety of songs that could actually go in different places, just for one soundtrack. Oops, sorry, down. There we go. On that 84 year-end singles chart, there were 5 songs from soundtracks just in the top 20. 2 of them from Footloose. Now, I point out Footloose because we had the title song from Kenny Loggins, which was at the 4th position. And that's 100,000% pop radio. And then we also had at number 13, Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams. And that went to pop radio, but it also went to black radio. Footloose didn't go to black radio. It just didn't, right? So again, here's an example why soundtracks could be so popular and so lucrative for the movies themselves, but also for the record companies that put out the music. Let's Go Crazy hit it at 21, almost there, but didn't happen. Okay, so getting a little bit into 40 years and why we're here. In August of '83, Prince played a benefit show for the Minnesota Dance Theater, and he performed a series of songs, all new, that the whole set wasn't new, but I'm saying he performs these songs that are new, and many of them become included in the soundtrack. 3 of them are actually on the album, and that would be Baby I'm a Star, I Would Die for You, and Purple Rain. Also significant about this performance is that Albert Magnoli, the film's director and editor, was present at the show. They were working on and working out how this film was going to go, how this story was going to go. And Purple Rain grabbed him. Later, he asked Prince, hey, what was that song that you were playing? Prince says, well, it's called Purple Rain. And he's like, that's the one that's going to be the centerpiece. That's going to be the climax song. And Prince is like, well, cool. Is it okay that we call the whole movie Purple Rain? And Howard was like, well, sure, that's fine. If I can use that song. So this is a very important concert. I really, really do hope that all parties involved, the stakeholders, really kind of get it together so that we could actually see this footage as it was, because I think it's a very, very important document in Prince's career as well. It was really the second performance, but it was but it's regarded as the debut of the Revolution with Wendy Melvoin on guitar, replacing Des Dickerson, which really causes just a very different dynamic, in the group, and in my opinion, for the sound, not for the better or the worse so much. I'm a Des guy. I did a whole talk last year. But Wendy and Lisa, they're a thing. They're the real deal for what he was trying to do at that period and a few years after. A year later, on the 7th of June, he does a birthday show. And at this birthday show, album's not out yet, film's not out yet. He debuts a couple other songs, one being 17 Days and the other being Erotic City. Now, these wound up to be B-sides, very beloved and treasured B-sides. 17 Days in particular, it kind of feels like the sort of like the quote unquote classic revolution song. He, and it's so funny. I think I was talking to Matt Thorne, and Matt Thorne, by the way, who will be, I know I'm calling you out, who will be on a roundtable after our session here, wrote a book on Prince. And in the U.S., it's called Prince: The Man in His Music. He really does. It's a fantastic section on the concert and how, like everything I just said, is because I read Matt's book. In terms of how the interaction went with Magnolia and kind of what it meant. And it's those kinds of things that make it a challenge to kind of present today, only from the standpoint is like, hey, I don't really have to go into this part. I don't really have to go into this part because it's Purple Rain. We kind of know how a lot of this went. But with 17 Days and Erotic City, 17 Days in particular, and I'm going to kind of break this out just a little bit, but they both have these subtitles in parentheses, 17 Days being like super long. Like Fiona Apple probably was like, oh, I know what I'm going to call my albums. And if you like Fiona Apple, you're probably laughing. But it references something called the dawn. And there's been a lot of speculation. And again, Prince, he's 25, he's 26. All these things aren't necessarily thought out. All these things sound cool at the time, but some of those not already thought out and cool at the time things actually meant something to him, because he was trying to crystallize what he'd been doing for a few years in his career, which was, how do I negotiate sex and God? How do I negotiate sex and Christian faith? And he'd been doing that really since Controversy, by putting the Lord's Prayer in the song and putting a poster with him in the shower next to a crucifix inside the album. And so with the dawn, and what we'll later see, that is the last line in the credits of the film, made you live to see the dawn. And he infers this dawn throughout his career from time to time, is the beginning of figuring out a way to tell people what he wants to say, because he's got some of his message really kind of figured out. Erotic City, of course, Make Love Not War, Erotic City, Come Alive. War is also another casual theme that he had been doing in his songs since the Dirty Mind album, the closing song, Party Up. He also mentions war very specifically on Controversy with a song called Ronnie Talk to Russia. He references war in 1999, the title track itself, also a couple of other songs where he kind of talks about war, and we don't want to fight and we don't want to participate in what it is that you are doing. And I thought about this war thing, and it actually hit me like a month ago. I walk in my neighborhood. I kind of do these walks to kind of exercise because I'm not much of a lifter. But it struck me. I was like, what war? Like what war was he talking about? And I did a little research, and stuff was kind of like, oh, firing off and everything. Because, I'm like 11, 12, 13 at a time. I'm not really thinking about war. I'm thinking about Space Invaders, but I'm not necessarily thinking about war. And really, the war was kind of the atmosphere in the early 80s was really fueled by the Cold War. This was the last decade of the Cold War, where there was less direct aggression between Russia, who at that time was the USSR, the United Soviet Socialist Republic, and the West, represented mostly by the United States, but also NATO countries of Western Europe. But between those two countries, along with a lot of spying, there was also a lot of nuclear armament buildup. It was an arms race. Russia had more powerful IBCM, let me not even go there, nuclear warheads than the US did. So Reagan made it a point to increase military spending to catch up to and surpass what Russia had. And it was this idea of having enough armament that Reagan, that he could maintain peace through intimidation. I got more stuff than you got. And there was also this idea of mutual destruction. If you got 50 megaton bombs that take 45 minutes to an hour to get to me, that gives me plenty of time to fire my megaton bombs to you. And we end up destroying each other. Wow, I ate up 40 minutes that quick? Okay. I'm on it, people. All right, let's zip through this. That's the war. Another thing about it is it became a bit of a popular culture, almost normalized, if you will. We saw it a lot. We saw it in war games, but we also saw it in The Day After. Now, The Day After freaked a whole lot of people out. I remember The Day After where it imagined a fictionalized nuclear scenario where in the heartland of America, where so many people were destroyed and so many people were decimated, it almost seemed pointless. It was said that Reagan, after watching this film, rethought some of his thinking about this nuclear complex. Okay, I'm gonna do it. It was also, war as a concept was also at the forefront of pop music. George Michael, in the Wake Me Up Before You Go song, very popular for Wham, wore a Choose Life t-shirt, and this shirt design was designed by Catherine Hamnett, who apparently was open to other people basically copying this design to draw attention to war, really an anti-war statements. It was picked up by Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and their song called Two Tribes was a dance hit, a pop hit, and it was specifically about America and Russia, these two tribes going to war with each other over resources. And in their video, they actually had a fight club between Chernenko, at the time the Soviet president, and Ronald Reagan, to show how pointless all of this was. All right, so that was war. Okay, so one thing about war and how Prince would describe it, which also ties into this spiritual-based messaging that he was beginning to insert into Purple Rain, was the concept of the dance and the party. We dance our way to salvation. We can party our way to freedom. I'm gonna party like it's 1999. They say it's 2000, party's over, out of time. Well, this is what I'm gonna do as a result. The dance Electric, which is a song basically about we gotta get right because Armageddon's coming and God didn't want us to be this way. So let's do this dance Electric. Listen to the rhythm of our soul. And this electricity could be a euphemism for the energy source that God has put in all of us, the transference of power and thought. And I had put the two Parliament Funkadelic records up here because this is another example of what Parliament would do in some of their songs. And for example, in One Nation Under a Groove, a lyric, here's a chance to dance our way out of our constriction, out of our oppression, out of these tight spaces that we find ourselves as people of color, Black people specifically, for this song. Another, in the Aqua Boogie, where the idea of living underwater, you can dance underwater without getting wet. With the rhythm that it takes to dance, to what we have to live through, you can dance underwater and not get wet. To dance to the rhythm of your soul. So shout out to Chris Robb for making the initial connections with. Okay, so a thing about, because I only got a couple minutes, a thing that I wanted to mention about Computer Blue. Computer Blue being kind of a centerpiece song in Purple Rain that changes the storyline, where Prince is jealous that Apollonia has decided to join Morris's group, and he takes his anger out on him. In the longer version of Computer Blue, where it's dubbed the hallway speech, Prince talks about a man who has multiple hallways in his home, and he's named these hallways after emotions: fear, resentment, lust. And it kind of hit me that what he's talking about in the hallway, the way these hallways are named, really are the characteristics of the dad in the film, and that leads up to his attempted suicide. Um, Quick things about the concert experience. The painting by Doug Henders of The Dove, which has been closely associated with, of course, the song, but also the Purple Rain era itself, is indicative of a lot of the masks that we see in the film. The character of the kid, has a lot of masks and mannequins and statuettes in his home. The stage dressing of the Purple Rain tour also carried over a lot of these masks, and there were even reports that mannequins were seen at the beginning of the show to almost throw people off, thinking that was Prince or maybe band members themselves. I know people that saw that. I didn't see it. I was little, on the floor, surrounded by people who were taller than me. I didn't see anything like that. But that's okay. It probably happened. This actually is a photo of Prince with two mannequins. And for years, I didn't know where these mannequins came from until I just happened to be watching Purple Rain on the way over. And you actually see these mannequins. So when we watch the film tonight, because we're watching the film tonight, right? Oh, it's a live concert? Okay, fine. When you watch the film, you'll be able to spot these mannequins in the scene where Prince goes to the club and he confronts Wendy and Lisa rehearsing their song. All right. You know what? I'm going to breeze through a couple of this because there are a couple of things that I want to do. Man, 40 minutes and I ate all that up, huh? All right. All right. All right, cool. Very quickly about Tipper, a role of the PMRC. Darling Nikki is the... I am so sorry. Okay. The PMRC, the Parents Music Resource Center, is the reason why when you're streaming on your phone, you see a little E by certain songs to let you know that there's some explicit content in it. It's also the reason why we had stickers on our records, ruining the artwork. And the sticker looked like that, and Nikki was at the top of the list for all of these Filthy 15 songs that led to congressional hearings about forcing the music industry to rate music. It never became law, it passed, it happened, here we are, but the narrative is that Prince is the face of this, when in reality, he's listed with a whole gang of heavy metal groups. So much so that, and it was kind of ironic too, because heavy metal as a magazine, this is a magazine called Kerrang! It came out in 1984. Declan knows it. Okay. It's very interesting that they would put Prince on the cover of a magazine like this, because this magazine thought AC/DC was too pop to actually really give them any kind of press. But they were interested in Prince. Last thing before I go. We didn't really have a real soundtrack, but there was a Japanese-only pressing, promotional, to push Prince to radio, because originally Purple Rain was going to be a world tour. So Warner Brothers put a record together. It's 2 sets. The first set actually has edited versions of all of the songs that appear in the movie. It's the closest thing, in order, in the sequence that they appear. So it's the closest thing that we have. And I know D'Angelo's looking at me, but this is what it looks like. Flat on the front. It is Warner Brothers. No catalog, because again, it's promotional only. On the inside, it promotes all of the albums at the time, including Sheila E., to push the Glamorous life to the Japanese audience. Remember I said he played Purple Rain in Japan? And I think that's it. I think. Oh, okay, quick. What if? Let's just think about these 3 things. What if the film flopped? Remember I asserted the album would be okay, but if the film didn't survive, the albums would be okay, but Prince would never ever make another movie again. So I thought about it. It's like, well, what if it doesn't work out for him? Does Around the World in a Day release as is? Around the World in a Day, the follow-up to the Purple Rain album, this music was actually recorded around the same time. This album was done. The one you can buy now, it was done before the film came out. If the film flops, does he still release this album because it was really quirky to a lot of people after the fact coming behind Purple Rain? Does the tour continue outside the US? Does he need to work harder to still get into this pop lane that he was trying to get into? And the group, the family, I'm talking to the real heads here. Does the family actually exist? Do they become successful if the film doesn't work? Okay, and that's it.